All right, let's talk about this patch I've been working on the last couple of days. I'm calling it Atmospheres. Let me just give you a quick nuts and bolts run through, and then we'll do a little ambient jam. So, Atmospheres is, as the name implies, I wanted to have a real atmospheric sound on sound loop going on, and I think this has worked out pretty nice. So, we've got a mono input going into a stereo spread using the Haas effect, only about 18 and a half milliseconds between the left and the right. This button right here is opening or closing the sound on sound loop. So with that, the loop is closed, meaning there's no information going into it. And this would be the erase. So once you have the sound on sound loop going, it's going to go on for the most part until it degrades into just kind of a wash in the background. But you'll wait forever if you're trying to get it to fade out at the end of a jam. So that's the main page. So the stereo spread is going into the stereo VCA, and the VCA is the VCA that's controlled by this button. Again, opening or closing the loop. So the stereo outputs of the VCA are going into a stereo ghost verb. Now in the ghost verb, actually you can hear it already. So that's the latent part of the loop. So again, if I want to, I can just do that and it goes away. Now the reason why it persists so long when you have that on, and I'll show you in a moment here. So I have an envelope follower. So the output of the ghost verb is going into an envelope follower. That envelope follower is going into a CV inverter. So instead of pushing, so it's connected to the decay as well as the resonance of the ghost verb. And as you can see, because there's information bouncing around in there, that CV inverter, instead of the envelope follower pushing that parameter up, it's actually bringing it down. So it helps keep it from getting too resonant. It helps keep those tails from persisting forever, unless, of course, you want to take them out. So you're coming out of the ghost verb. And in the ghost verb, I'm just using a really slow modulation rate. Again, the resonance is being controlled by a envelope follower with a CV inverter. I have it 100% wet, okay? And then you're going into two delay lines, and this is where the sound on sound loop part comes in. So each delay line is set at 8 seconds. The only reason why I did 8 instead of 16, you can do 16 seconds, is it takes too long to develop a pad with a 16-second delay. So I think 8 seconds is a nice, at least for the tempo I usually play at, that's a nice length for a sound on sound loop. And then the output of those is going into the other stereo VCA, and that's the erase VCA. Again, that's connected to this button right here. And again, if I turn that off, that slowly fades away. Now on this ghost verb, I can set the maximum decay on it. Now let's change it. I had it at 7,000. Let's bring it back to 6,000 so it does actually fade away. 7,000, it doesn't actually fade away. Okay. So now I can re-engage the erase button and I won't have a permanent eerie pad going on unless, of course, you want it. But again, that's to taste. Okay, so the output of the ghost verb into two delay lines. The only reason there's two delay lines, one's left, one's right, into this next VCA, which again controls the erase function, because then it's sending that output back into the input of the ghost verb. So that's your sound on sound loop. And I've already explained the envelope follower through the control voltage inverter. And then what you got on the third page here is two automatically recording loopers. They're 8-second loopers. I have them set for an octave down. I have an LFO with a random waveform set just under 8 seconds to the record function, as well as the start position of the loop, which will ultimately affect the loop length. And then, of course, I have them playing in reverse. So one left, one right, both being controlled the same way independently. And that'll give that extra lower octave layer. So I'm going to mute the mic here and do a little jam so we can just kind of listen to it here. I'm not going to bring the trio in here. I'm so tempted to use that because it's nice having that background rather than having to have a rhythmic delay going on, but not today. All right, pretty cool. So I think I'm going to live with this a little bit. I still want to figure out how to dial in a little more of that low end. Might add some compression on the output of the loopers, but that's my new atmospheres patch I've been working on. Again, just a sound on sound, just to create an atmosphere in the background. It actually works really well. Video I posted last overnight or early this morning. It's kind of an example of how it might work in kind of a dream pop setting. I thought that particular recording was too much of a contrast between the trio and the washed out guitars. So I think this version of it, this modified version of it, does a better job of being part of a mix. Again, I'm having to adjust my thinking when it comes to this stuff, because if I want to add some accompaniment with the Trio Plus here, I got to consider you can't just have minimally affected drums and bass and just have this huge guitar going on. So, but that's cool. I can do that. If I can't do it with this equipment sitting right in front of us here, there's something wrong. So there you go. There's atmospheres as it is this morning.